Thanks for joining today. I'm Marissa Cepega. I'm the Director of Product Marketing here at Assembly. And welcome to the Unlock Neos Mastery Insider Tips from Nunes Law Firm. This is going to be a great webinar. And to set expectations, this is a high-level overview of what Frank and Diane have done to make the most of Neos and optimize their workflows using Neos. It's not intended to be a training webinar, but everything that they do, you can learn how to do by using our knowledge base, which is inside Neos. Also utilizing the on-demand videos that we have in the Neos Learning Hub. And I highly recommend that you get Neos certified. I will send all of those links in the email. And also, again, questions, put them in the Q&A. Now I'd like to pass it on to our host. Diane Danois is an attorney and also a legal consultant. She helps firms configure their case management systems to optimize their workflows. Frank Nunes is the owner of the Nunes Law Firm. He is a PI attorney in California, and he's been successfully practicing for 28 years. Now, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Diane and Frank.
Thank you, Marissa. Good morning, good afternoon to everybody. Today's presentation, as Marissa mentioned, is really all about integrations and how we've designed them in Frank's office to maximize his efficiencies and his workflows. We've mocked up the life cycle of a typical case from the inception all the way through resolution, and we're going to walk you through our client journey together, exploring a number of integrations, including Kenect and Zapier, which are tools that allow us to move data from outside of Neos into the intake manager. We're going to show you how we integrated DocuSign, which is just an e-signature application, allows people to sign documents online. We're going to walk you through YoCierge, which is a medical records retrieval service that allows us to order medical records online and other types of records and have them automatically populated within our system. We're going to walk you through InfoTrack, which is a litigation services integration that allows us to do e-filing and even service of process through the portal, and it also delivers all of the information right back to Neos. And our last integration will be LawToolBox, which allows us to track critical rule-based deadlines within Neos as well as in Outlook. So Frank, if you could share your screen, let's get started and meet our client where they always look for us. So we can go to Facebook, we can go to your website. Let's show everyone where we start.
Thank you, Diane. It says someone else is sharing, so I need to add that, Marissa, if I can. There we go.
And then when you do that, I'm going to request to share your screen as well.
Okay.
So give me 1 second. There we go. It's all yours.
Thanks, Diane. As Diane said, especially in the personal injury practice, you've got to be ready to meet these clients when they come to you. Here's the Nunes Law website, and in the bottom we have a little text widget. And when they read through that nowadays, they want to come back and they want to contact us. So we would have here, for our example, Minnie Mouse, and then we would have a phone number. And I was hit by a delivery truck and injured. She would send that to you. Meanwhile, on the other end, in our Kenect application, we're getting an email here from her saying that she was struck and that it's coming in, and we can ask questions about when it happened. I was hit by a delivery truck and injured. It shows when it came in. There can be a picture. We can do dialogue with her. And this really works with my intake person more than it works with me, but it starts the process for the intake to come in. Diane?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Frank. So when the intake comes in, Frank gets notified through Kenect, also gets the notification through email. But in Neos, that intake is also going to get populated right here to the intakes manager. So you'll be able to find your case automatically. Your case manager can jump right in, apply whatever filter they need, and start working on that case. But before we open that up, just wanted to mention that Neos Platinum also has a specially designed dashboard. Frank has customized this one, but you can have any kind of tiles or reports that you need to show you the new cases that are coming in. So Frank wanted to see the number of potential new clients, PNCs, that have come in within the last week. You can configure it any way you like. He also wanted to see the intakes that were coming in by source. So how many are coming in through his website? How many are coming in through Kenect or Google, whichever, or Facebook? So he has a visual that's easy to access. So once the case manager identifies the case, we've staged our Minnie Mouse case for you here. The next step for the case manager is to start gathering information about the client. Now, one of the things we want to show you, I'm sure a lot of people on the call have already seen a basic intake, but we've used NeosAI Platinum to create dynamic questionnaires to make the intake experience for the case manager a lot more fluid, a lot more productive and efficient. So these dynamic questions allow us to set up a question and then get based on the response that they get, additional data will start to appear. So there are a number of examples that I'm going to show you. We're going to start with this one. Are you the injured party? If the answer is yes, nothing's going to happen. If the answer is no, I'm not the injured party, we're able to now collect the information about the caller. We want to make sure that this is an actual contact record. Often we find that people want to do the intake very quickly, and so they just put it in a text box, just basically writing down the number and the phone number information, but then you lose that contact and you don't have it in your database. Frank's office wanted to make sure that that was captured in the event we want to do marketing down the road. So I'm just scrolling down through basic demographic information that we would gather about a particular client. Now, the accident details, I'm going to remove the actual date for us, just for an example. And notice that when I removed it, the date of accident now has a red asterisk. That's because it's a required field. Using Intake Pro or Intake for the Platinum level means that you can make certain required fields so that we can't skip over them. We all know that the date of accident is one of the most important pieces of information that we can gather. So we're going to put that back in and save that record. Just a little bit of scrolling. Hope I don't make everybody dizzy. I want to show you a couple of other dynamic questions that we've created. One of them is, do you have any information about the defendant or the adverse party? If we do, it gives us an opportunity to ask whatever information we want to get, contact information, insurance information, etc. Was a police report issued? If we say yes, now we can gather information about the police department. The plaintiff's vehicle and the defendant's vehicle, same thing. We can gather as much information as we need. Of course, once we turn this into a case, all of these fields are mapped to the actual case itself. The last couple that I want to share with you are critical to Frank's evaluation of the case. Did the plaintiff sustain physical injuries as a result of this accident? If the answer is yes, we're going to get a full form that's very easy to manage, because rather than having to do a lot of typing, our case manager can just go through and identify the damages and provide a description box for the injuries themselves. The next two dynamic questions ask whether the client went to the hospital via ambulance. If they say yes, we get to add the contact information about the ambulance. Now, I want to just pause for a moment. The reason this is so important and the reason we set it up this way is because when this case is turned into an actual case, if Frank's office accepts it, these fields are mapped to go to the records request tab. At that point, his paralegal will be able to pick it up immediately and just go on and start ordering medical records. And we're going to show you how we've involved the YoCierge integration to help us even further do that. Additionally, with the medical treatment, same thing. We're able to gather all of the providers, Adventist Health, Community Regional, and then all of that information will be available for us. Now, there's one last dynamic section that I'd like to talk about, and that's called dynamic forms. Notice that we don't have any additional tabs beyond the ones that you're seeing on the left-hand light gray menu bar, but using dynamic forms enables Frank's office to ask more questions and elicit more answers about any kind of healthcare treatment that has happened as a result of this accident. So let me just quickly show you what that does for us. So by going to the quick add menu, I can add a dynamic form. And I'm going to choose incident-related healthcare. And the system allows me to either add this information that I'm about to add to the current tab, which would be the intake tab, or I can actually create a brand new tab. If I create a brand new tab, you'll see that it's automatically going to give me the opportunity to enter who my provider is. Okay, the type of record I'm ordering or taking records, taking information about. The treatment from date and treatment to dates. And I'm just going to randomly put some dates in here so we have some data and any comments that I want to make. Once I hit the save button, watch how it automatically created. It created this new tab for me. And then I can go ahead and start adding new information to it. Let me just save that record for a moment. And there we go. Now, I've added a new tab, and that's great. I have a new provider that I've added, but let's add some embedded information in addition to the incident-related healthcare. So one of the forms that I can add within this tab is medications. So what medications has this potential client been on? I could type in Tylenol, 500 milligrams, capsule form, and save it. And now watch as I've now created a brand new section within this tab. I'm going to do it just one more time and then we'll move on, because I want you to see how easy it is for us to just keep adding information. So I'm going to add a treatment section. I'll give it a date. Let's just say we're treating our shoulder, and perhaps we're getting an MRI. Save that record. And as you can see, we've now embedded yet another one. We can continue on. I can add information about examinations and other types of treatment. And in addition, I can add additional rows within each one of these sections. So if I wanted to gather all of the medication that this client is currently on, I could fill that in as well. Lastly, once our case manager has gathered all of this information, he wants to notify Frank about this new case. So all he has to do is go over to our new note, select a topic of case intake. His subject line is going to be please review. And we can mention Frank, which will automatically send him a notification within Neos that we've got something new for him to review.
And Diane, that notification.
Case manager did it all.
Yeah. The notification comes here at the top. We have another one. A new intake has been assigned to you. A new intake has been assigned to you. Those things will come up. And you can also set the notifications to come in through your email so you don't miss them at all.
Great. Okay, do you want to take us through next steps after you're going to review the case using your checklist?
That's correct. Thanks, Diane. After that, we would take the case and we would take a look at it. Whoops.
Yeah, you can close that note.
There we go. So you get a notification in the corner as the attorney, or if you have someone screening your cases, then you go through and you start reading, scrolling down and reading the information. And we all know that sometimes more information is better. A lot of times they are in a hurry to give you the information and get off the phone. But here we got the accident details, the time. We can look to see if we want to do any kind of contact, see if the opposing party is there, check for any conflicts. And after we go through the intake checklist or intake sheet, we go over to the checklist. And we have 3 different tasks that we can start with. And the first one is to review and select accept or reject intake. So it looks like we're going to take this one. So we would select yes to mark that done. Then we would accept intake. Now the intake has been accepted.
I'm going to interject if you don't mind, because I just got a text message that told me that you're setting up a meeting with me as a client. So
Right.
Let me just take a quick pause. There is I'm going to unmark that. Let me cancel that for a second and just click on the details here.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. There's an automation that can trigger emails, text messages, or change of status of the case of the intake that can be set up in the back end for your tasks. So for example, when Frank marks completed that he's accepted this intake, we've set up an automation that notifies the client that this case has been accepted. I'm just going to show you guys what it looks like in the back end. But just to give you a little preview, when the checklist status is changed to done, you can see I'm circling that over on the right-hand side. We've directed it to send a text message to our client, letting them know that they're going to be hearing from our office to set up a meeting. Now, I got the bell because my phone number is connected to our test case. So I got the text message that said someone's going to be reaching out to me.
Right.
Okay. And let me, Frank, I'm just going to turn this off for a second because I think your next checklist item might have been closed. Okay. Well, that's all right. So the other checklist item that Frank sends is setting a consultation appointment that automatically creates a letter. When we click on that particular task and mark that completed, it generates a letter that goes to the client, and that's on our case docs tab. And that letter is right here, initial consult letter to the client. And this is a letter, Frank, that you send out via DocuSign, correct?
That's correct.
So why don't you can run with it from here.
The DocuSign is so easy. It's what got me going with integrations is that you don't have to leave the Neos software to do many of the things that you would otherwise do. Historically, I would draft the document, print it out, review it, sign it, and they would scan it and send it out by email. With this new DocuSign feature, or I don't know how new it is, but new to me, you simply pick the letter that you want to send. You pick the client's name.
You clicked email. Hang on, you meant to do DocuSign.
No, I did meant to do DocuSign. Correct. I'm so excited. So it's very easy. You just pick the recipient, and you can put up the first meeting, and then you send a DocuSign. This is the beginning of the beauty of it. So DocuSign comes up, and we really don't have them typically sign these letters, but here's the initial letter that's going to go out, and you can position where you want that person to sign. So you could have Diane's signature here, confirming she's going to be there and the date she signed it. And it's very simple because you just go over here to the message and you say, first meeting, please review and sign. Okay. Once you click done on that, simply click send. There's other features you can do. And now this document, you get an acknowledgement that it's sent. Once again, you're sitting there at your desk doing your work, you'll get a notification that the document has been signed by the person when it is signed, and it comes back, you'll see it's even changed. A new MVC initial consult letter signed. And here's what you'll receive back. And you can see Diane's signatures at the bottom of it right here. And the reason why this is so important is because no longer are you having to have staff or somebody else remember to go back and take that document, put it back in your file. What if the person who sent out the letter might be out that day on vacation? You've automatically got a copy of it back here in your signed folder, and somebody else can get in there without even communicating with the person who sent it and see that the letter has come back signed. So that is a real time saver. Again, you can stay inside Neos to do all of this using the integrations. Diane?
All right, great. Thanks, Frank. All right, so let's go back to the intake. And before we turn this into a case, I just want to point out for everyone a couple of other workflows that we've been leveraging using Neos Platinum, which is our ability to, with a click of a button, send out the retainer agreement, the rejection letter, or a referral letter. We're not going to do that today because we really want to focus on integrations, but I did just want to point that out, that that's all also an option that Frank has implemented. So we are ready to make it into a case. I'm not going to actually click it here because we've already staged that case as being open for you over here. But the beauty of making the effort to collect all of this data up front is that all of the data is going to flow into the actual case, so that when your staff comes in to start working on their case, they can pick up immediately, and there's no duplication, couldn't say the word, of efforts in typing in information twice. So I just want to quickly review where some of that data landed, and then we're going to talk about some other Neos AI features. So we scroll down, you can see the synopsis. It knows that the case came in through Kenect because that's in our synopsis field. It knows who opened the case and when it was opened, and any other information that was contained on that case tab. Notice this new tab, intake questions. So all of those dynamic questions that we generated and all of the answers that were provided land on an intake questions tab. This tab is not part of our standard case type for motor vehicle accidents, but it comes here now by virtue of having asked those questions during the intake process. If we scroll down to notes, remember we were talking about text messaging, and the text messages come over directly, so we can see those in our that came in back and forth from Kenect. If we go to our records request tab, you'll see all of the providers that we identified during that intake process. Our intake details come over, so all the information that was asked is here. And last but not least, that intake-related healthcare, that dynamic form that we were talking about, has also come over. Now, this one is much more filled out because we wanted to demonstrate for you how easy it is to add all of this additional information. This is going to be critical when Frank starts working the case, when we start using AI to generate a demand letter, which we're going to talk about in a little while. All of this data is going to be relevant for those purposes. So now I want to just head up to the Party tab to demonstrate how Neos AI can add a new party without having somebody have to type in the information. Now, there are a number of different ways to approach this. I'm going to show you all of them. The first one would be to simply drag and drop your document. Click here, and we're going to select a photo ID. And let's envision that, yes, we have our original party that signed up, but maybe we have an additional client. Maybe there's a spouse who's going to be part of our case or someone else, and we want to take their driver's license or a photo ID, immigration card, and get that document right onto Neos. So it's analyzing the data, it's extracting the data, and now what it just did is it took the driver's license, put in the full name, the address, all this other information, and now all our staff has to do is go in and identify who that party is, give them a role, and hit the save button.
And the advantage to that, Diane, as we talked about, is first of all, it cuts down the amount of time your staff is spending doing busy work. It also eliminates the possibility for that information to be transcribed in the address because it's taking it directly from the document, in this case, the driver's license itself. So that's a time saver in and of itself.
Exactly. And as I mentioned, there's more than one way to do things in Neos, and we could do it from here. You also have NeosAI tools up here. So I could have also extracted and created a party record from the photo ID right from here. And we can also do it from our case docs tab. So if I click on photo ID, that image is over here that was scanned in automatically. And I can click on the details and view that record. And I can always create a party right from here. Now, we've already created the party, so I'm not going to do it again, but I just wanted to show everybody that it could be done. All right, so our next, the next integration we'd like to talk about is medical records and YoCierge. YoCierge, as we mentioned at the top, is an integration that is an online record retrieval service. Let me just double click this open for us. Huge part of the practice, Frank. I know your case managers spend a lot of time, your paralegals spend a lot of time chasing medical records. With YoCierge, all they have to do is put in the provider. Now that's already here for us. Enter the date requested. YoCierge has a service for HIPAA forms, so we can either upload our own HIPAA forms to their portal, but we can also use what's called YoSign. So YoSign is a text messaging that sends the HIPAA form directly to our client. They can sign it, and automatically we're able to continue on making our record request. The YoCierge status of pickup is the key. So once the stage of our medical record request is in pickup form, the moment we save this record, it's going to send a signal over to YoCierge. They're going to come in, grab all this information, do their work, and they're going to start requesting the records. And shortly thereafter, those records are going to come back to us in Neos. We never have to leave Neos to do this task. When they come back, the status is going to change to in progress. In addition to that, that medical record is going to land right here in the linked records section. So that actual medical record shows up attached to the same record request, as well as showing up on the case docs tab. Now, in addition to that, of course, whoever orders that record, whether it's the case manager or a paralegal, they're going to get a notification to their email letting them know that that record is out for review. And Frank, you might have, I forget if you have even email that you might be able to show.
Yes, I do. Actually, I'll drag this here quickly. So here's my Outlook right there. And if you'll notice, here's an authorization request requiring your attention from Minnie Mouse. And so you updated the entire time that YoCierge is working on it. And Diane's correct. This is one of the weakest links in the plaintiff personal injury practice, is getting the records without a subpoena. Having somebody like YoCierge go through, you're going to see down here they've been trying to get the records and the efforts they've been trying to do, that we need to contact them. And the main reason they're having a problem here is because this is a fake case. But the point is you're getting notifications that somebody's working on it and what is holding it up. And that's all from within Neos, and that's a great thing to have. The filing of the documents into the proper place in the proper client's file is wonderful, because now we don't have to worry about whether it got placed in the right client's file, who ordered it, who's putting it in there, who was expected to receive it. It's there. Diane?
That's great. Thank you. But wait, there's more. In addition to the medical record showing up on that case, the costs related to that record automatically go to our value tab. So I'm just going to discard this for a second so I can get myself over here and let you see that on the value tab, the costs related to ordering that record land right here. And Frank, you can attest how important is capturing that cost back.
This is great because especially when you get that phone call with an offer from the case, immediately it always translates into the client saying, how much of that's going to me? Well, if you might have an outstanding filing fee, outstanding record fee, what have you, this immediately puts it in there, and you can use the value settlement tab to do a what if we settle it for this much, this is what you get. Having it go directly into the value entry saves time. You don't have to worry whether it's been entered or whether the person remembered to do it. So it's a real time saver.
Yes, it is. Thank you. I want to next talk about, still sticking with medical records. It's certainly important to have the record land right here, but I want to talk about yet another value of having NeosAI along with having the records automatically hit this tab. Using NeosAI, we can summarize those records as they come in. So you guys can see this column where it says AI extract. It's going to extract the data from the hospital chart, and we have a couple staged here for us already, just so you can see it. But we can click the, I'm going to just do it for a chart. Click the Analyze button, and it's going to identify that this is a medical record. So you can see where it says Select Document Type, Medical Record. We can ask it to provide a summary that is either short, medium, or long. And when we click Extract, it's going to do its work. It takes a minute, so I'm going to just show you one that's completed already instead. When we click Details, you can see that summary down here. Now, some of us don't like to look in a small view, so if you click the View button, you can get a bigger view of what that summary looks like. In addition to the summary, using NeosAI to summarize that document, it is equally important to be able to look at the invoice as well. So I want to show you a couple of things. One, we have this bill, this hospital bill that's related to this treatment that our client has received. We know we can click the Analyze button. It will analyze an invoice just like it analyzed the medical record. I'm just going to show you what it looks like on this side. So we have our invoice. our bill. And if we look at the actual fields of data and we scroll down, it captured it. I shouldn't scroll so fast. It extracted the customer name, the address, it captures the dates of treatment, the vendor name. And here it's capturing all of the line items of that hospital bill. The surgical procedure, the ambulance services, x-rays and CAT scans are all here. Scroll back up. And here's the best part. Right from this record, I can automatically click create value records, and all of that detail is going to flow over into our value tab. Now we can get each one of these items to be a line item, or I can create one value entry for that particular record. I can call it a medical bill, and I can give it the provider, community regional, click our save button, and it's going to take all of that data and put it onto our value tab. So if I go over to our value tab, you can now see our additional medical expenses from Community Medical Center for $14,000.
Again, very
Any comments
valuable,
about that?
very valuable in being able to analyze settlement offers on the fly. Clients are asking for a case. You might be just preparing a settlement brief or even a settlement conference statement. You can go here, you can get an idea of the kinds of costs and bills that you have. And with that detail, you can even see the specific charges for each service rendered by that provider.
True. Okay, Frank, we're at our halfway point, so let's step it up. We have all of our medical records. We have all the information we need about our client. Let's try to get our case settled before we have to file a lawsuit. So we're going to go over to the case docs tab, and we're going to use NeosAI to generate a demand letter. And in doing so, having we're going to use a template that's already been pre-configured with specific NeosAI tags that are going to extract data out of the entire program. And let me show you how that all works. We're going to click generate letter with AI. Let me just get that up here. I'm going to pull our AI template so you can see that it says AI demand letter. On the right-hand side, it's going to show us the preview, just like all our other templates do. But this time when we click next, this is going to be something different. We're going to give it demand. Okay. Now using the NeosAI for creating a template, it's going to give us a lot of options here. The first one is identifying the tone of the letter that we want to write. This is a demand letter. It can be formal, it can be casual, demanding, or less demanding, however you want to write your initial letter. That letter can be short, medium, or long. These are all choices that you can make yourselves. If you want to view the document, you can just click View Document, and it's going to show you what that looks like. Now, as I scroll down a bit, I'm just going to start with this first section. There are a number of different sections to this template that have been designed. The first one is just an introduction. The next one is facts and liability. Then we get to our damages, injuries and treatments, and at the bottom, what's our demand? Now, this is a lot. These are a lot of sections, and this isn't a training session, so we're not going to go through all of them. But I do want to point out a couple of things for everyone, just so you get a sense of how this works. We're going to identify the party that we want to talk about in our introductory paragraph. So I'm going to pick Minnie Mouse. You can select what data sources you want to use to extract data and leverage all of that information to put it in the content of your letter. Right now, we've selected the case data, some firm data, some party data, but you can see from this dropdown that there are a lot of other areas that we can go to pull in additional information. Now I'm going to just go ahead and generate this first section, just my intro. Give it just a moment. Okay, that's how fast it is. It created our introduction to whom it may concern. I'm writing on behalf of my client, Minnie Test Mouse. Well, we know that our Minnie Test Mouse is because we've created this test case for today's purposes, but we don't really want that in our letter. So I can give instructions to my AI to tell them, take out test. I don't want to see that. I'm going to write, please remove. Oh, I have to spell it right. Hold on now. Please remove test. And I'm going to generate it again and watch what happens. Generating again. And now what it's done is it has removed the word test from the entirety of my letter. So now it just says, I'm writing to you on behalf of my client, Minnie Mouse, which is how we wanted to see it. Now, this is an oversimplification of what that tool can do, but you can give instructions that change the tone of your letter, remove a sentence, add more information about an injury or treatment, or create a clarification. You play around with this and you'll see that it has an awful lot that it can do. As I mentioned, we're not going to generate the whole thing because we already have a test example for you on our case type. So let me close this. And we'll go back to Minnie Mouse. If we go to our correspondence, we can see our demand letters here. So we've created a short one with a casual tone, a short one with a demanding tone. You can do anything that you like to do. Frank, any thoughts about how you've been leveraging NeosAI for your demand letters?
Yeah, once this is configured, it's really great right now for us for the smaller cases that are pretty consistent. But on the larger cases, it's even great on that too. We just have to take the time to make sure we input the data. So the great data that you put in and the paralegal working on it, the medical records clerk working on it, these produce some good demand letters because they have the details to be rich and provide those back out from the information put in.
Right. And remember, there was a section for treatment. All of the treatment that we're identifying on our incident-related healthcare and elsewhere in the program would be pulling in that information. Our damages assessment or value can all be put into that into the template itself. Okay, so unfortunately, our case didn't settle. We made our demand, it didn't settle, and we're just going to have to file suit. So we are going to talk about our next integration, which is InfoTrack. And you'll remember that that's the online portal. It's an e-filing service that does e-filings as well as service of process. So our staff has created the summons and complaint. And using InfoTrack, the integration is going to connect directly to Neos. It's going to grab a copy of our signed complaint, pull it into their portal, create all of the paperwork that has to get filed along with that document, along with all of the charges that go with it, all the filing fees. And when that document has been filed, it's going to send that e-filed document back to our case manager or whoever did the filing, as well as put a copy of that filed document right here on our case docs tab. In addition, it's going to take the cost that was involved with that filing fee, and it's going to automatically populate our value tab right here where InfoTrack is. And now you can see that the complaint has been filed. Frank.
Once again, this is so crucial because, you know, it always comes down to the client saying, how much of that is coming to me? They're out the door, the case is done. Oh, we forgot to add in the first appearance filing fee. Even if we didn't litigate the case, we just filed it to protect the statute. $457 is a lot of money to forget on at least one occasion, if not more. Having this there when your office manager goes to the value tab, or when I go to the value tab, it's amazing because you can say, oh yeah, we've got a filing fee on this. Oh, we've got a service of process fee. It's really great.
Okay, our next integration and the last one we're going to be talking about today is LawToolBox. LawToolBox allows us to track critical rule-based deadlines that we're going to be in Neos as well as in Outlook. So I just want to show you over on our case tab, we have a number of deadlines. And when we get our case management conference order in, we have a date for the conference. We're just going to put that date in. Click our save button. Once we add the date of our case management conference, we can calculate our deadlines. These deadlines are pulling directly from the court. These are set ahead of time in the integration by the firm. And you can see all of these key deadlines: last date to file and serve case management statement, deadline to meet and confer, etc. So for purposes of our demonstration, we're just going to select one date. last date to file and serve the case management statement, and we can assign it to anyone we choose. So I'll assign it to Frank, I'll assign it to myself, and I'm going to add the deadline. It's processing and it's completed. So once it's added the deadline, you can see up here that the deadline has been completed. When we go over to our case calendar, that event has now been added. It's a LawToolBox deadline. You can see the subject, last date to serve, the case management order, statement, excuse me, and it's an Outlook event as well. So if we go to our global calendar on October 9th, we can open our calendar. We can go to October 9th. And here is the LawToolBox entry as well. And of course, we'll see this in Outlook because this is an overlay of Outlook. So that's the beauty of the integration with LawToolBox. Very easy to set up. I'm going to go back to our case and I'll go back to our case tab so you can see it once again.
Frank, the last step, the last integration, we go back to Kenect, right?
That's right. We go back to Kenect, and this is the part where when the case is done, you simply just go back to Kenect and you ask them to leave a review, case one review request template. Send that out, and the next thing you know, it goes out with the client's name in here, and it comes back and it provides you with a link that you can look. It looks like this when they come in there. When they click on that link, here's what they see. A review option. And we all know that Google reviews are the key lifeblood to marketing these days. And so they can leave the number of stars, they can put in the information, they can add photos, and then they can post it. We're not going to post one here. And then that's how we conclude and wrap up the case with Kenect. And all these integrations are found here on the integrations tab. I neglected to go over that with you folks, but they're all here that you can have all these. You'll see right here, we have the Kenect integration. You'll see right here, we have the DocuSign integration. We have the YoCierge integration down here. This is where they all get activated and brought into the case mix. And you can use them again from inside Neos. Diane?
I think that completes our client journey, which where do we have a picture of our client journey, Frank? Do we have it up here?
We do.
There we go. So as everyone can see, we've really maximized as many of the integrations as we can. There are so many that Frank has been a true champion in trying out lots of different integrations to find out what works best for his firm. Not all of them work because, well, they're not all of them work, but not all of them work for his law office. So it was important for him to try them out, see what works best for him, and then come up with this design to really maximize the use of both Neos as well as these third-party applications as integrators. Frank, any I'm thinking in my mind what you might offer people as a word of advice when thinking about integrations. Can you think of one that you would offer?
A little bit of patience is in order, and try to do only one integration at a time. There's a learning curve if it's integration that staff uses as well. I try to do it first to see if I can do it, and then if I can, then I have my staff do it. And once we get that integration running, lo and behold, we'll run into another integration. And so before we step into that second integration or the next integration, iron out the details of the first one as much as you can, rely upon tech support. Neos tech support with the knowledge base articles has really helped us with the configuration of a lot of these things. And it's a great resource for the videos as well.
Great, thank you. Marissa, back to you.
We just have one question. So how many pages of medical records can the AI process at one time?
I believe you might want to have somebody at Assembly answer that question, but I believe it's about 40 or 50 medical records at a time. Pages of medical records, is that the question?
How many pages? Yes. David, I can find out that number exactly and I'll get back to you.
Help me on that.
And then Diane, we have one other question. On the intake, you were adding providers. Were you able to select them from a dropdown or database, maybe from YoCierge?
When I was doing when I was typing in the initial providers or when we were making the record request with YoCierge? Well, let me address both. So in the intake, those are contact records. So that information is pulling from our database because often we have a lot of repeats. But that's just a contact record. So we always encourage people to leverage the database that we have. And if that provider doesn't exist in our database, we ask them to add it. It's important for us to build out our database. On the YoCierge side, they're peering into Neos. So that data doesn't have to be recreated. I hope that answers the question.
And if that didn't answer your question, then feel free to email Alessandra at assemblysoftware.com and we will get back to you. Anybody else have any other questions for either Diane or Frank?
And this is just tip of the iceberg. There's a whole bunch of integrations, but this is the ones that we've had the most success with thus far, and I want to be able to show those to you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Frank. Thank you, Diane. This has been really great. And thank you for everybody who attended. I hope that you got a lot of value out of this. And again, we will be sending a link. Oh, when will this update happen? One last question.
These features all exist today. To answer, I mean, anticipating the question, all of these features exist today.
Right.
This is all available to everyone. And Frank's using it in his office. This is wasn't just a demo. He's actually doing this.
With the platinum level, correct.
Right.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining, and keep an eye out for an email from Alessandra. Diane, Frank, everybody have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You
Thanks.
too.